Next up, I just decided to pull an audible because I really want to talk about this movie. It premieres Thursday, September 1st on Shudder. This was at the behest of Bruce Berkey. Bruce, he likes to add some extra films during the week, and then I think it just increases my own level of anxiety and tension.
That's exactly why I do it.
Thank you, Bruce.
Turn the screws on, Greg.
Every single week I say, Bruce, Eric, we've been doing this podcast. We can coast. Let's just do half a movie, and let's just just do half a movie, and then
Eric just did half a movie.
Yeah, kind of.
But you know what? I'm gonna do the comedy film, right? Dun dun dun. But the very good Bruce. Look. Who invited them? And I was wondering. Oh no, Bruce, you threw another movie at me. And look, this is an interesting film. It's set in the Hollywood Hills. Loving couple. They are parents to, I guess, a kid who's maybe around 6 or 7. Their name is Adam and Margot. They seem really nice. Adam is played by Ryan Hansen. Adam is a very successful, I guess, businessman, entrepreneur. He makes some good money. And Margot is a former alt rocker who is now a mom as well. She's a mom, and she's just they're at a different stage in their life. But for some reason, Adam wanted to buy this wonderful house, I guess mid-century modern house, up in the Hollywood Hills. So Adam wants to show that he's a very hip guy, and they're still a hip couple. He actually has a really interesting dinner party where he tells people, "Don't touch the vinyl. Do not touch the vinyl." He's one of those kind of guys. He is definitely one of those kind of guys. And yeah. And then, he's one of those guys, he'll have probably, it's not even in the movie, but I'm thinking he'd have some kind of really cool modern coffee table with a couple of architectural books on modern architecture in Los Angeles. He's one of those types of guys. And Margot seems like a normal person. So you get to see, Margot feels maybe a little bit out of place in Hollywood Hills, and Adam wants to show how cool he is. Well, let's get to the dinner party. At the dinner party, everything seems okay. You realize the dinner guests understand how much of a pretentious, Adam is. And then to Adam's surprise, there is a hot young couple, and their names are what are their names? I'm just going to say they're just a mysterious.
Tom and Sasha.
Tom and Sasha. Tom is played by Timothy Granaderos, and Sasha is played by Perry Mattfield. They're both very good. Actually, all 4 of these actors are very, very good in this movie. Tom and Sasha, hot young couple. The problem is, neither Adam and Margot know who Tom and Sasha are. Are they party crashers? Are they the next door neighbors? Who invited them? Who invited Tom and Sasha? And the rest of the movie, Adam and Margot try to figure out, who are these people? Are they really they're wonderful, sexy next door neighbors, or are they something else? That is the premise of the movie. Let's go to Bruce Perky. Your thoughts? It's your fault that you brought this movie this week.
Your fault.
To watch it on Shudder. So you're going to what is your thoughts on this movie? Did it live up to your expectations?
I didn't really have many expectations, but I saw it was coming out. So I usually, if I look and see that Shudder has a new release, I usually try to give it a try at least. And it was an interesting enough concept, and I mostly had fun with this movie. I really quite enjoyed the 4 main characters and their interactions. I guess my thumbnail version of the pitch for this movie would be, it's kind of like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, where if one of the couples was like sociopaths, and then that kind of gives you the flavor of this. There's a fair amount of humor, a lot of awkwardness. So if you are not a fan of like this kind of awkward interactions, then this is probably not for you. I think where this movie doesn't quite succeed totally is it doesn't really nail the landing. It doesn't really go out with a bang in a way that it feels like it should. This is one of those movies you're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop the whole movie, like the other shoe to drop. And when it drops, I feel like it should be a little more of a bang pow. Maybe part of that is because I think part of it is relying on I think it's supposed to be a twist. For me, it was super duper obvious. But if it's supposed to be a twist, maybe this would have a bigger impact for you as a viewer. That being said, I mean, this is a pretty breezy, fast watch, and I think it clips along really at a good pace, and it keeps kind of upping the ante. So I really enjoyed all that stuff. So I would say for me, it's definitely a recommend, but it's not as strong as I was hoping when I got into it.
There is a subplot, a very interesting subplot, and a very obtruse subplot.
Yeah, I said unnecessary side story.
Adam and Margot's friend, she's her friend, and I guess she's babysitting their child for one evening. The kid is gonna have a sleepover at this woman and her husband's domicile, probably out in the suburbs. And the subplot is her wandering around the Hollywood Hills in a car, trying to find Adam and Margot's house. And
Oh,
yes.
do you know what her name is?
What's her name?
Deus Ex Machina.
Very, very good. Very, very good. You know, I have had that. It's this interesting subplot or obtruse, whatever that is. It triggered me because I've been in the Hollywood Hills, me being in LA, many a time. I used to actually work for someone for the first year and a half, and he lived in the Hollywood Hills. I would automatically be fearful once I got up to the hills and would not know how to parallel park my car or go up the driveway. It just triggered me in a very comedic fashion. So this subplot, I thought actually towards the third act, it really worked for me. I really loved this part of the movie. But I'll get to what I think of the rest of the movie after Eric's review of Who Invited Them. Your thoughts on this movie, Eric?
Yeah, I like this one for the most part. Yeah, the subplot was
I love it.
and why? Like,
Yeah, why? Unnecessary. But it was
Um,
kind of very necessary, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
that's the
eh,
problem with
was
it.
it though? Like, you
No,
can
it wasn't.
you can get there without that.
Yeah, you could.
That subplot would be like the you read the draft of the script and it's like, why is this here? Because blah blah blah. They need to get that out of there. But the rest of the movie was pretty kind of like one of those what would you call it? It's like the couple that comes over, they're like, there's clearly something wrong with them. They're clearly up to something, but they gaslight them just enough, like, oh wait, we were just doing this and then you freaked out and why is this? And then they played a game of slap face, which third movie this year, the first one being slap face, the originator of the slap face genre. And then we had they played slap face and bodies, bodies, bodies. Now they play slap face in this. So Jeremy Kipps needs to get his residuals on these other two movies, I think. But yeah, this was kind of like one of those pressure cookers. Like when's this shit gonna get real bad? Because I know that's where we're going. It's just a matter of when. The I did like the twist, I guess, if you want to call it that, reveal, whatever. But then there's something else at the end that kind of went over my head. And Bruce, I'll probably have to ask you about that after we're done recording. With the record player.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
shot right over my head. I didn't quite get. I remember there was a scene earlier on,
Mm-hmm.
and then they
Right.
come back and air quote pay it off, but I don't know. That one right over my head. But this was a decent enough kind of thriller. Like oh fuck, what's a good example? That I'm thinking like consenting adults,
Mm-hmm.
something like that,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like
Right.
oh yeah, these are friends, and then they're hanging out, they're a little weird, whatever, and then it just, as the night goes on, it just progressively gets more and more weird to where it's like, I don't think we need these people in our house right now. So
Yeah.
Good
yeah,
pull on
it had
consensus.
its I mean, this isn't a movie that's gonna light the world on fire, but it's got its place, and I think it's a decent version of this kind of movie.
Yeah, I loved it more than both you guys. Really, set in the Hollywood Hills. Loved that subplot. Loved all of the performances. The bad guys, the quote unquote bad sexy couple. You don't know who they are and whatnot. They're fantastic in this movie. Also,
Yeah.
the couple who are arguing, they get on my nerves. That's the job of that was their job to get on my nerves. Especially the Ryan Hansen character. He's really, likably douchey because when you're watching it,
Yeah.
you're so annoyed, but you get entertained by his sort of his witticism. I thought everyone was really good. Strong performances, indie project, so a thriller, and I believe it hits to all the right notes for me. And the ending, some people people might say, oh, like Bruce, you were saying maybe you want more of a bang of an ending. I really enjoyed the actual climax of this movie. I really enjoyed Who Invited Them. I was pleasantly surprised. So for me, I highly recommend this movie actually, and I'm giving this 4 out of 5 stars. 4 stars for me. Eric Holmes, your rating on Who Invited Them?
I'm probably at 3 stars on this. It was a good version of this movie, and I think anyone that kind of goes for this sort of thing will like it. Anyone that doesn't go for this sort of thing, this is not going to be the one that pulls them into the genre, I guess.
Cool. Bruce, your rating on Who Invited Them?
I think I'll go 3.5. I think I mostly enjoyed it pretty much all the way through. There's just a couple little, kind of like what Eric said, probably just a couple more passes and you could really tighten this thing up.
Yeah.
But 3.5, it's pretty fun.
Okay, so solid recommend from Bruce, high recommend for me with 4 stars. And Eric, 3 stars, slight recommend for you for.
I'd say it's a solid recommend.
Okay, so that is Eric. Eric comes in at 3. It's not a 3-star banger, but it's a 3. 3 stars
Yeah,
for
just
Eric.
regular 3 stars.
Regular 3 stars for Eric for Who Invited Them, Bruce 3.5, and me 4 stars. Check it out on Shudder on September 1st.